Around 6 years ago, when I was 13, my younger brother and I were in my backyard. We saw what looked like a man on an Olympic style bike, wearing bright orange lycra and a helmet. This orange seemed to glow over his skin too. This lasted around 3 seconds, and it appeared to come through the yard fence like a ghost goes through walls and then left out the other side. There was no movement in the bike wheels or the man moving it, just glided as a still image. I remember feeling something like intense dread and also disgust. Sounds weird, but it was like if you caught your parents having sex, that sort of feeling. So we both ran inside straight away, of course. We both still remember this to this day, but are still just as clueless to what it was. I was in a cabin with four other people. I woke up at about 5 a.m. and they were all sleep talking at each other, like straight up grunting, mumbling, shaking, and everything else a person mid sleep would do. Only the four of them were actively engaging in some kind of primitive sleep talk at once and towards each other. It scared the shit out of me. In the morning, I told them about what happened and they didn't remember a thing. This happened to me when I was little. I was camping with my older brother and my mom. I was about 7 or 8, and I went to bed around 10 in a sleeping bag inside my tent with both my mom and my brother. Sometime during the night, I don't know when, I woke up somewhere in the middle of the woods, still in my sleeping bag. I had no idea where I was or where my tent was. I screamed for my mom and I heard her calling back for me in panic, but she was easily 100 yards away, so. To this day, I have no idea how I ended up in the middle of the woods, still in my sleeping bag. I was a baby when this incident happened, but I believe my sister was around 5 years old at the time. My cousins, aunts, and uncles were at a birthday party one Saturday at my grandma's house in Houston. All the adults were inside the house around dusk, but the older cousins, ages ranging from 4 to 8, and my sister were outside playing. My sister isn't sure who noticed the bird in the tree first, but soon all of the cousins noticed it as well. A bird was perched on one of the lower branches, just staring at them. Before their horrified eyes, the bird began transforming until it was a woman sitting on a branch, leering at them. As they began shouting and screaming for their parents, the woman became a bird again. By this time, the parents had come out to investigate the commotion, but the bird wouldn't budge. Not until my grandmother, a formidable and salt of the earth type of woman, went outside, did the bird fly off. The house is creepy. It's still in the family, and I've had some other strange experiences, as did my mother. It was in the family since my parents were young teens. My cousin owns it now, and it's still creepy and old, and he doesn't really like living in the little yellow house either. In the beautiful roses my grandmother planted, strange things have been found: animal bones, guts, melted candles, and other witchcraft type of things. A lady in white has been seen moving from room to room in the past by house guests. I saw a creature similar to Slender Man, something reminiscent of Slender Man. Obviously, Slender Man is a creepy pasta, but this isn't Slender Man. There's a farm behind my house, separated by a canal. The farm stretches maybe about 1,000 feet back before it hits a tree line. Um, A couple weeks ago, I was eating dinner and was staring out at the farm. It was maybe 20 minutes until nightfall. I saw what looked like a really tall, gray version of Gumby walk out of the tree line, take two really large lunges, then disappear back into the tree line. It was much too tall to be a person. The next night, at the same time, the same exact thing happened, except my parents were with me. I asked them if they saw that, and they just said, "Saw what?" Then it happened again, the third night. So either my body is giving me random hallucinations in sync with my body's time clock, or there's some weird slender Gumby demon living on the farm behind my house. I haven't been home much recently, so I haven't been able to look for it again. But if I'm able to, I'm gonna try and take a picture. I don't know how well that will work given the distance that I see it, but I can try. I saw a creature that was half man and half deer. I was 7 or 8 years old and visiting my parental grandparents with the rest of my family. They lived deep in the woods, and I always hated it there. It felt like something was always watching and was always eerily quiet, like not Eve crickets chirping. My little brother and I share a bed in one room on the ground floor. My brother would sleep at one end, his head against the window wall, and I would be on the other, facing the window. On this particular morning, I woke up first. The sun was brilliant, making the room gold through the curtains. And there, a silhouette against the window, was a deer with the biggest rack of antlers I had ever seen. It was right there, like almost pressed against the window in profile. I stared in awe, and that is when it changed. In one smooth movement, it reared up on its hind legs, and it was no longer a deer, but a man. There were only two men in the area, my grandfather and my dad, and it was clearly neither. Not sure if that made it better or worse. Grandfather was very built for his age. Dad had a gut. This silhouette was clearly younger, muscular, but not in the like a brick way my grandfather was. It exuded strength and scared the hell out of me. It stared to the side for a moment and then strode off with purpose. I don't know what I saw. I want to believe it was just the groggy mind of a half-awake kid, but I remember the fear slicing into me. I remember the feeling of something being out there. I saw something outside the window that was not human. When I was around 7 years old, I was sitting in my bedroom with my friend Celia. We were playing. I think we were building with Lego. It was late afternoon, and our parents were outside the front of the house chatting. My bedroom had a window at the side of the house. At some point, while we were playing, I looked up and saw something on the other side of the window. I have no idea how to describe this thing, and I haven't heard anyone else mention anything that sounded similar. From the neck down, it looked like a person. I can't remember what it was wearing, but I think it was dressed in a dark blazer. The collar was visible, so I know it was facing us. From the neck up, everything started to look very wrong. Its head was heart-shaped. Its skin was brown and leathery like the hide of an animal, but it was slightly translucent. And beneath the leathery skin, I could see thick pulsing black and dark blue veins. There was no face. I remember looking at this thing for a moment, and it was like my brain had fuzzed over being scared, and I remember thinking something like, no, no, that's not meant to be there. That's not what a person looks like. I remember mostly feeling surprised more than scared. I don't think I really thought it was real. I slowly turned my head to look at Celia, and she was doing the same, turning her head to look at me. I saw her eyes wide open and her mouth hanging open, and as I realized we could both see this thing, the fear clicked in, and I thought, that's not a person. That's not a effing person. What the F is this thing? That's not a effing person. I remember being paralyzed with shock and fear. I wanted to bolt, but I couldn't move. I suddenly felt really sick, like the room was blurry and spinny. I don't remember the thing walking away, but one moment it was there, and the next moment it was gone. Celia and I both stood up wordlessly and walked solemnly outside. I remember feeling unnaturally cold, wobbly, and fragile, and a little too thin, like you do when you're coming down with the flu. He walked to the front of the house, and we each grabbed onto a parent and snuggled into them until they finished their conversation. Celia and I never talked about it.